Welcome to this next in my series of Energy Matters interviews. I'm so glad that you're watching. Thank you so much for being here. And I am really thrilled today to be interviewing Rooya Ayubi. When she was 5, Rooya escaped with her family from Afghanistan by walking through the desert to Pakistan with her family. And they eventually ended up in the United States. By the time she was 9, she had become a full-time translator, parent, and advocate for her parents as well as for her siblings. And she has said that growing up, fear was ever present in her life, especially because she was often put into positions where she had a lot of responsibilities, but didn't have any power. It wasn't until she had 3 kids of her own that she realized that because of past traumas, pain, and feelings of helplessness, that fear had become a driving force in her life, which led to anger, which became a vicious cycle in her life, which made her feel unfit to parent. After taking some shaky steps back towards herself to acknowledge and work through her trauma, pain, and suffering, she had a realization, which was that for her whole life, she had made others her only priority and invested all of her time and her money and her resources on others and their needs, and realized with some reluctance, I would say, Rooya, that it was time to invest in herself. So she began to dream and create a vision. And in fact, Rooya in Arabic means vision. And she is the founder of her business, Clear Vision Healing. So Rooya, welcome. It's a joy, as always, to see you.
Oh, it's such a wonderful opportunity always, and a blessing to be in your presence. So thank you so much for that great introduction.
Oh, you're so welcome. So Rooya, I always like to begin these conversations by saying, I know that you've done some work with Qigong, and that you also have very tapped into what energy means through your faith. When you think of energy, what do you think of? What is it that comes into your mind, or how would you define it?
I was just thinking about, I think energy is the drive that allows you to be you and live your purpose by being you. So it's just that drive to, um, was something that we're very afraid to do, right? Is to use that energy to be us, because unfortunately our society has taught us to run away from who we are. But if we use that energy to be who we are, and therefore I feel like when you are who you are, then live your life with purpose, then you can really live a life of your dreams, a life of joy. And so that's what I think that means to me,
I
energy.
love that, because I haven't really thought of it in this way, but what I'm hearing you say, among other things, is that you can summon your energy, or energy can be a pathway to being authentic, to being who you were meant to be, or who you're put in this lifetime or this planet or this moment to be. Is that kind of what you mean?
Yes, yes, that's exactly. And I'm so glad that you asked me that question, because I didn't think of it, When you ask me these questions, it comes right out of me, and it made so much sense. And I feel that the opposite is true, that same energy can be toxic when you're avoiding being you, when you're avoiding your purpose, and when you're
More
running
about
away
how
from
you've
yourself.
experienced that. What is it? What does that mean when you've avoided being yourself? How has that energy become toxic?
Well, with my life in the past, and just recently coming out of it, it's been that depression. It's just been the energy has became this weight that was on top of me, where I couldn't keep my eyes open, I couldn't get my body up and moving to do, whatever that my body didn't want me to do, because it was going against who I was, right? So I've seen it truly working against me, unfortunately.
So such wisdom and such body wisdom in that, saying, put on the brakes, stop. This is not true to who you are, or what you're meant to do, or what is guiding you. In Chinese medicine, pretty much, and also even really in Western medicine, I think that stagnation is sort of the root of all disease. So in Western medicine, the stagnation of a microcirculation, or for our circulation, can that's sort of the very bottom base of the pyramid of various types of symptoms that come up. And in Chinese medicine, of course, energy needs to flow and not stagnate. And so when you were depressed and felt like your body was resisting having to do things you didn't want to do, then that energy gets really stagnant. And I think that's probably where it started to feel toxic.
Yes, yes. And it's interesting because this theme has been coming up in my life recently where, when you are going against who you are and technically in my belief, you're living a life of fear, everything is constricted and nothing is open, right? But I realized that then, I'm always thinking about, from point A to point B, or from, where you are, where you don't want to be and where you want to go. And from fear, where I want to be is gratitude. So the shift that I have made is actually from fear to gratitude. And gratitude is actually openness, right? You're open to all of the amazing things, the blessings that you're getting into, this beautiful energy that you've been given as a gift.
I know that some of the work that you do in the world is that you actually are now, because I mean, your story is a very big story, and I've had the privilege of hearing some of it. I know that there's way more stories than I've even heard yet, but that part of, what you've come through a long journey, and now you're helping other women, especially on a journey. Want to say a little bit about your journey or what you're helping other people to do?
Well, it started off with self-worth because I thought, okay, all my life was, and I found out that all my life I was not being who I was. I was finding my worth by doing things for other people and trying to make other people happy, so I could be like, hey, well, there's a reason why I'm here in this world. It's because I'm helping these people. And sometimes these people didn't even want my help, but I was doing it, right? And so it started out with this, I used to call it disacknowledgement, which is not a word. I looked it up everywhere, but it should be. I always used to say, I'm not acknowledged. I'm disacknowledged, which meant I'm not worth anything. I'm not worth being seen for who I am and not for what I do, right? For just being. And so the more I looked into it, the more I realized the work that I'm doing is allowing people to just be seen for the fact that they exist. And that's what people say, I'm not seen, I'm not, I feel like it just always has to do with this image of being seen. I think that to be seen is to be honored. And that was the first word that actually got me out of my depression, woke me up, kind of like was like, just like a glimmer of light came in, was when I learned from my faith that, mankind has been honored by God. And I was like, wow, not only have I been allowing everyone else to dishonor me, but I've been dishonoring myself this entire time. So what I'm trying to do as I'm discovering myself and really enjoying doing it is that I'm allowing people to be honored and be seen and just acknowledge their own existence for who they are, no matter where they came from and no matter where they are at this point. They are worthy of existing and being seen. And once you see yourself, then that's it. But we fail to see ourselves. And so therefore, ourselves are not acknowledging our own existence, our own worthiness in this world. So the key word for me right now is honor. How can I use honor to help people see themselves again and really feel like they belong in this world and discover who they are?
It's such a profoundly deep service that you do. So I have a couple questions that just came up to my mind. One is that the whole concept of being seen and visibility, particularly for those of us who have not felt that or have hidden our light under a bushel, or have not really come forward, that is really entangled with this whole fear piece, it seems to me, right? I mean, so could you talk a little bit about how you have navigated through any fear that you might have of being seen, or what fear, which is that you said, is that makes your energy just stop or freeze. How have you worked with that? I mean, I get that honor is sort of on the other side, and maybe even a light at the end of the tunnel. But what do you do when you're in a real place of fear that if you're seen somehow, you're going to be hurt or damaged? I mean, I can't help but think, as somebody who wears hijab, that's got to, I mean, that's in this country at this time can be, and I know you have some stories about what happened for you after 9/11. So how do you work with that fear in terms of your visibility, and in terms of really the piece of owning who you are in your wholeness?
I think, as I think about it, I'm thinking that, I mentioned gratitude earlier, but I think it's just that gratitude is the pathway to overcoming my fear.
Mhm. Could you say
Yeah.
about how, like an example?
Well, that's a let me think. So I feel like when you fear is constricting, and it closes you off. So it makes everywhere dark. And when it makes everywhere dark, you don't see the light anywhere, right? You don't see what good you have. Everything becomes bleak and ugly. And so when you sprinkle a little bit of gratitude here and there, which is what you have to do in the beginning because you're so shut off, right? Um, you begin to see some light. So for instance, it's the RAS. They say the reticular activating system is whatever you put your attention to is what becomes your reality, because your brain can't handle the billions of information that's being bombarded on top of you. So the gratitude actually allows the RAS to see things differently. So for instance, if I'm forcing myself to see something good in my life, like, oh, at least I'm here in the US and I'm not in Afghanistan, avoiding bombs and all kinds of other stuff, or the Taliban, right? Then I can see one good thing in my life, and I now, like a tiny little light bulb is turned on. And then that gives me hope, right? So hope becomes a drive, and then you work on the next thing, until the RAS goes, oh, hey, you don't want to see darkness anymore, you want to see light. And that's what I'm experiencing right now, is I'm seeing a bunch of light bulbs everywhere that I can now follow in the darkness, and it's getting brighter and brighter.
Mm,
And, so
that's
I'm discovering this as I'm having this conversation with you, and that's why I always love having conversations with you, Vicky. So thank you.
well, it goes both ways. I love it too. I always learn so much from you. Uh, was it really scary for you after 9/11? Because you were in this country already.
Yes. And wearing the hijab for me was an act of liberation.
Mhm.
And so when 9/11 happened, it was a very difficult time in my life, because now I had to hide that liberation. I contemplated, should I wear a hoodie? Should I wear a wig? Should I hide this thing that's making me feel like I can exist in this world. I can be seen in this world for who I am. Should I hide this now?
So let's talk a little bit about, for people who don't know, or who don't know people who wear hijab. How is it a liberation for you? I know the answer to this, and I love every time you talk about it, but because I know how deeply it goes for you in terms of your faith and in terms of who you are. So tell us a little bit about how choosing to wear a hijab became a liberation for you.
I contemplated wearing hijab at a time when I was very sucked into conformity. I mean, I was like right here, two roads diverge in a yellow road. I think that's where I was. And I had to
What were
either
the two roads? What were the two roads?
one was I can conform and be exactly what the world wanted me to be. And the other one was this very, untrodden, road with bushes growing on it and all that stuff, right? It's like, I love that poem now. My kids had to memorize it in homeschooling. So, but really I had to choose that. And that was freedom for me, because I got to go against the conformity. I got to be like, you know what? I'm not going to be all the millions of things that all these authorities and all these different big people are telling me, this big, huge society is telling me. I'm going to choose my path, and I'm going to choose this to be me. And and in a way, it was like, oh, you want to dress a certain way? No, I don't have to. You want to act a certain way? I don't have to, because this scarf is gonna allow me to choose different ways of doing that. I can choose to speak differently. I can choose to dress differently. And with a hijab, everybody dresses in a certain way. It's not like a specific way either. So it was going against the norm, I guess.
Against the norm of this new society that you had entered into when you came here as a 9-year-old, right? Or is that how old you were when you came to this country, or you were?
Yes, I was 9.
Yeah, so there was a conformity in terms of what does it mean to be an immigrant, and how do you blend the whole assimilation myth, that you were then choosing to really honor what your own inner voice was telling you to do. So you had that. It strikes me, as we were talking, that you had that as a very young age, right? A certain sense of like, I am going to be who I am, right?
Yes.
And then at some point that got squashed, or with the level of responsibilities or trying to take care of others, then that became kind of the back burner as you were trying to navigate what it meant to be of service. And that was the other question that I actually had. Now I'm just sort of babbling on, which is that the service, that sort of that fine line between service and the path of, let's say, a lack of self-esteem, or a lack of taking care of yourself, because I know that you're somebody who still is of service, right? You are of service, and all the work that you do and all the ways in which you be is of service to your faith, to create connections with people, to open up conversations cross-culturally, all of the different types of things that drive you and that you bring to. And so can you talk a little bit about that balance in terms of your energy, in terms of how do you serve now in a way that doesn't extinguish your light, that doesn't cost you your center?
Well, I've learned that to not extinguish my light is to be able to do the service for myself first. So service to me means first and most taking care of my own needs, and really being me, which I think nowadays is probably the hardest thing you can do, right? Is just be yourself. So that's the first service that I do now, which will always take care of my needs and protect me and protect this vision that I have. And then I am doing this vision of helping other women, eventually helping other people, because I have 3 boys. So I want to help everybody, right? And but helping in a way that's effective, not going and being really heavily involved in my siblings' lives and my parents' lives and everybody's life. That's what would happen to me was, if it was just a neighbor and they were in great need, I had to drop everything and try to figure that out for them, which was not sustainable, right? And so I want to be able to help in a way that's where people can come to me themselves, that who are willing to get what who are willing to receive the help that I'm wanting to give, but then also obtaining tools and methods that I can use to help others. And so I never thought this was possible, but I always wondered, like for instance, your book is amazing. I mean, I can read that for the rest of my life and learn new things. How is a person capable of doing that? And so I admire that in you, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm starting to do that as well. I have this and I have that, and I'm loving this journey of discovering myself and what I can do. Yeah. So
what are some of your favorite things about yourself these days? Not to put you on the spot or anything.
If someone had asked me that question, I would have been like, nothing great about me. My persistence of never giving up. Honestly, just never conforming to the expectations of authority. I'm a very respectful person. I love my elders. I love, I respect people of authority as long as they don't get in my way and tell me what to do. If they tell me what to do and it's something good and they, and I can benefit from it, sure. But if it's literally controlling me or telling me what to do, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. Just writing, storytelling. I was always a storyteller, but not the kind that I have become, and I'm hoping to become a better storyteller as time progresses. So just being with my children and enjoying being with them, observing them, and just helping them discover who they are as well. I mean, there's a lot, I guess, when I start talking about it. So
how delightful. Well, all that I can so see and appreciate in you. I have this thing that just popped in my mind, Roy, and again, sort of putting you on the spot, but you're an amazing storyteller. I absolutely love the stories that you tell and how you're telling them. Is there a story that you would want to just give us a snippet of how you tell a story now? It could be a story from your, from the time you were a kid walking across the desert, or a story about, waking up to your own depression, or anything that you want. Could you just go ahead and act out a story for us, or a little bit of a story?
Oh man.
You've done a video of recently, right? You've done several videos recently of your stories.
Yeah.
Some folks here on this page will not have seen that. So
Mm-hmm. Well, now that you said I think you just reminded me of a story. I don't know how, because it's going to be on the spot, and I'm not you, Vicky. I love your storytelling, but I'm going to wing it and try to do this. I think we've done this a little bit of a practice in the past, but it's the story that I want to do with you eventually again, where I wake up and I have this heavy feeling of depression. I am really sad, but I look around and I remember I've woken up to an amazing life that feels like a dream, but it's not a dream. I have everything I want. Which reminds me that I used to. It makes me realize right now that I woke out of a nightmare into a beautiful dream. But in the past, I would wake up happy from a beautiful dream into a nightmare. I wish I had never woken up. Why am I here? Who am I? And that happens now.
That's absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I love the, waking from a beautiful dream into a nightmare of the past, and waking up from a nightmare into the beautiful dream of this future, or present and future. That's so wonderful. Thank you so much, Rooya, for being willing to play in the field spontaneously like that. So let's talk. What are some of the things, if people want to know more about you, or if they want to connect with you? What are some ways that people can do that?
Well, I have my website, which is clearvisionhealing.com, and it has my name in it. And then I have my my Instagram that's called Strangers Path, because we all feel like strangers in this world, and yet we think we have to conform to be like everybody else. But that's what I appreciate in myself now, and I appreciate in others. And then I have a Facebook account, and I think that one I would like to change, but it's Leisha.Ayub. So LISSIA.AYUB. And Ligia is actually one of my, it's my nickname that my parents don't really use, but I've kept with me for a while. So.
It's nice. And I know you have an ebook.
Oh, yes, I do. I have an ebook that I'm grateful that I have just finished, which is called 5 Ways of Overcoming Shame and Living a Life of Honor. So it's the beginning of that journey of, coming out of the darkness into the light, moving away from shame to honor.
So we can post a link so people can download that ebook underneath this recording. Is there anything else that you want to add before we close our conversation today?
I did think of something. I think that for me, coming from, learning all the things that I have learned, for me, every single human being is a miracle, and is it's a blessing for me to meet them. So going and this new job that I have, where I'm meeting new passengers every day, to me, they don't realize it, but I see them, this beautiful world that I'm seeing with each new passenger. And so I like to honor them and give them that opportunity to be seen. So if they've never been seen, I see you. And if you've always been seen, I see you. And that's how I'm gonna make a mark in the world and hope to make a change in every single human being. And
Just by being, as you said, not just by what you do, but how you be, and just for people who don't know, when you say seeing passengers,
oh, yes,
passengers in the journey of life, but that you're working with passengers at the airport.
literally.
So you're meeting strangers from all over the world every day, and you're being able to reflect to them their beauty just by
Yeah.
how you are with them.
Yes. I always wanted to give like a little card out, but I'm like, no, I can just honor them right there. And hopefully that'll be the change they need to that moment of honor will be the opportunity for them to want to change.
What have you noticed
If they need it.
what have you noticed with people when you have done this with them? Just strangers that you meet.
What have I what?
Noticed that how do people respond to you?
They light up and they thank me a lot. And it's not just because I help them. Everybody helps them. I'm hoping that it is what I did, which is to honor them.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, you've honored us with your presence here today. So Rooya, I can't thank you enough for being here. Stay tuned for the next Energy Matters interview. And until next time, be well and let the chi flow.